All right. Well, good morning, partners. I appreciate you getting on this call. Today is Wednesday, March. What day is it? April 8th, April 8th, 2020. This is Tim Bullock from the Akron office, PCP coach. Hopefully we've got Mitch Severance with us here on this call as well. He's going to chime in a little bit. We're going to talk today about ADD. Now, it's not the ADD that you guys think of. This is the Active Distraction Defense System. So I was planning on really working on this afternoon. I've got probably about 15 slides that I want to go through. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time to get through this whole presentation. We've created this more of a PCP, when we do a coaching retreat or the semi-annual get-together with all the students. We're going to do a breakout class for this actually. So you may see this again down the road, tweaked a little bit, but so you see my slides right here, PCP, ADD, Active Distraction Defense System. So we have so many distractions in our business. I'm going to have you guys, I'm trying to see the chat. So Nikayla, do we have a chat button somewhere in here?
Yeah, I have it on my screen. So if you want me to read off anybody's questions or anything, just let me know.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, if you guys can chime in through the chat box, that Nikayla is going to be monitoring through this presentation. This is going to be it's not going to be just me talking for the next half hour, 45 minutes. There's going to be questions from you guys. So, we have so many distractions in our business and our lives right now. We have the telephone, obviously. We have our emails. We have people that are constantly knocking on our doors. We have meetings. I literally today had 4 meetings that took 4 hours total of my time, which takes me away from everything else I'm supposed to be doing. So we have all these distractions in our business. So I'd love to hear from you guys what distractions that you guys have. And Nikayla, maybe as they start chiming in, maybe shoot some of those out to us. But our distractions are our kryptonite, our phones, things like that. So these same tools that we acknowledge that are being helpful in our business also are becoming, and they help us with our productivity, are also doing the exact opposite effect of what we want them to be doing, correct? So, Nikayla, anybody chime in on what distractions they have in their business besides the ones that I've mentioned?
No, not yet.
Okay, that's okay. We'll go ahead and continue on. So here's 4 types of people, and I'm going to be all over the place on these slides, guys. I apologize, but you'll get the point of what all this is of trying to keep us super focused. So there's 4 types of people in this world. There's the unengaged, okay? On the bottom left corner, the unengaged. Those are the people that work 9 to 5. They love Fridays. They actually look forward to a weekend. Be honest with yourself. If you're a loan officer in this business, do you even know what weekends are? Weekends, I don't even know what weekends are. I work Saturday mornings, typically from 8 till noon. I've been working some Sunday mornings just to get caught up on refinances, so I don't even know what weekends are. But you may have people that that are either loan officers or people maybe that are on your team, possibly that just love 9 to 5, and they're out the door right at 5 o'clock. So those are the unengaged. We have the underachievers. So these are the people that read all the books that they can. They learn all the good stuff. They go to the seminars. They take a ton of notes. They take a boatload of notes. And what do they do with it? They do nothing with it. So those are the overmotivated underachievers. Then there's me, the overwhelmed overachiever, okay? Maximum energy. I've just gotten by in my career, not on my looks, but on my just working my ass off. So that's why I put myself in that category there in the top right. Overwhelmed overachiever, maximum energy and effort, and we just grind it out day in and day out. And then there's really where we want to be. This is where I want to be. I want to be that stunningly successful super achiever. That's where we want to be. That's where all of us hopefully want to be. Greater results than others with less effort and stress. So you look at these high achievers, and this is the stuff that we're going to talk about today, guys, comes from Darren Hardy, a program called Insane Productivity. If you've ever heard of this, some of this may look that you've seen this before. Mitchell Severance and I are going through this 12-week class. We're taking a little bit longer than 12 weeks, but it's a 12-week class called Insane Productivity. So you're going to recognize some of this as we go through this. But the super achievers, those people that own companies, the Bill Cosgroves, do you think he's ever frazzled? Do you think he ever goes home at the end of the day and says this to his wife when Paula asks him, what'd you do today? Do you think Bill ever says, I was just crazy busy? And then she'll say, what did you do? And he'll say, I have no clue. I don't see him saying that. That was me for about 15 years of my career, where I'd go home at the end of the day. Diana would ask me, my wife would ask me, what'd you do today? And I said, I was just crazy busy. Well, what'd you do? I have no freaking clue what I did today. Now I can go home and I can tell her that I prospected for 5 hours today. I made 25 phone calls. I took 2 loan applications and locked 3 refinances. That's where I want to be. I want those greater results than everybody else that's out there. So let's go on to the next slide here. We already know what to do. So I want you guys to chime in here in the chat box with Nicaila. We already know what to do. I use this saying all the time. I know what I need to do. I'm just not doing it. So why aren't we doing it? We know that we're supposed to be making our phone calls. We know that we're supposed to be staying out of our emails and off of our phones and prospecting and things like that. Just why aren't we doing it? So Nicaila, as people start chiming in the chat box, let me know what kind of results that we have in there.
Okay, it's still pretty empty right now.
Do we have anybody on the call?
We got
So
a few.
That's okay. So I just don't want to talk this whole time. So I'll give you an example. So why aren't I making my prospecting calls? I'm doing easier things. Okay. Making prospecting phone calls 2-3 hours a day is not that easy. It may sound easy, but it's hard. It's probably one of the hardest things that I do on a daily basis. What do I do instead? I work on a nice little flyer that I can send to my real estate agents, or I work on a refinance, or I check my emails, or I read some guidelines or things like that. I'm just doing other things that are just so much easier to do than actual prospecting time. So that's an example of why I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing on a daily basis.
And we got a couple here.
Yep, let me hear.
One from Stephen Palo, pressure to help a distressed borrower. Jim Ford, interruptions, reacting rather than being proactive. Eric Cromer, I think we create our own distractions to not do the difficult things.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, so all this goes around to, do we have a team in place to handle those distractions? Do we have a team in place to handle those client situations? For example, I've got a team captain on right now, Kelly, on my team that handles supposedly 95% of all the problems that we have in our files. Problems are usually created by me, unfortunately, but she is there to handle 95% of the problems and create solutions for me so I can try to stay out of those. Not everybody has a team of 2, 3, 4 people, and sometimes you have to handle those distractions. I can tell you this, that our job is prospecting for new business. If we don't do that, we're not going to be able to even hire a team, even think about hiring a team or paying for a team or getting any better in our business. So we have to have that mindset that number one, I tell my team this all the time, what's our number one thing that we have to do every day? Prospect for business for me. For my team, it's answering phone calls from new clients is number one, okay? Loan applications and pre-approvals number 2, problems are number 3. Those problems will handle themselves over time, but a new client that's calling in is number 1 for me. A pre-approval or locked loan is number 2, and then problems after that. So any other thing comes over, Nicaila?
We have one here from Christian Bazeo. It's easier to get distracted when not in our normal work environment. Oh my gosh.
It's raise of hands. I can't see your hands right now, but raise of hands. I'm working in my office. My whole team is working out of their homes. I can't see my team every day. So it is so hard for me to focus on prospecting for new business right now. I told my students last week, let's try to call 200 people this week and make a ton of phone calls. I just have a hard time doing it right now. Not because I have I do have some distractions on refinances and things like that, but it's just, this is the unique time in our business. This too shall pass. Let's give this about 2, 3, 4 weeks where we're all back together with our teams in our offices, and then we'll have a better idea of what we're looking at. But so this is going to be for 2, 3 weeks down the road as far as getting back into these habits. So.
Yeah, Tim, it's Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
I think you couldn't have picked a better time to discuss this because, Christian nailed it. When we're at home, there are more distractions here, and it is hard to get in work mode, right? So like when we're in our office, I feel like we're just able to get into work mode so much easier because that's the environment that we're in. So
yeah.
No, I agree with that. That's a great point. Someone else also wrote in here, time blocking is a weakness. I think that's even harder for us all now as well, because typically our time blocks are meeting with people one-on-one, and those are gone. So what are we filling those time blocks in with rather than being distracted during those times that we're not meeting with people now?
Yeah, I mean, if I look at my calendar, it's so tight. In a normal work environment, it's so tight with meeting with realtors and things like that, my prospecting and power hours. It can be in my calendar all as tight as possible, but are we actually sticking to it? So can you say, Mitch, can you say that you stick to 100%, 90, 80% of everything that's in your calendar?
Never.
No.
Unfortunately.
Exactly. Imagine where we would be if we did, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
As you know, that was one of my goals this year. I didn't really put a number goal behind what I want to do this year. I want to put 80% of sticking to my calendar this year. If I do that, I know my numbers are going to explode.
Yep.
So I feel for everybody that's working in other homes. I have to be in the office. I've worked in an office environment for the last 25 years. You know, I get in early. I get in the office at 6:30. There's no way that I could ever work from home. I don't have young kids and things like that, but I've got a couple dogs. I got my wife. I got my son. There's no way that I could work at home. I got the TV. I got the pool outside. I have to be in my office. I don't know how you guys are doing it right now, working from your homes. Power to you. So, all right. So can you see the chat box?
Yeah, I can too. Yeah.
Maybe if you could monitor those as well as Nikayla, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let me exit out of there. So here's the answer. So it's not knowledge, it's conduct. Okay. So like I said earlier, we know what we need to do. We just aren't doing it all the time. Okay. It's not intellectual. Okay. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. My GPA in high school is 2.8. In college, I was a 3.5, but only because I took one class a semester. It's emotional. It's not about what we know. It's emotional. We have to resist the urge of all these temptations that come across our desk, that come across us. That's also called willpower, right? Or discipline. So it definitely is not time management. Somebody mentioned time management. It's self-management. Mitch, can we really manage time?
Doesn't appear that way.
No.
Time block.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody has the same amount of hours in the day. You know, everybody has the same number of days in the week, months in the year, things like that. We have to manage ourselves. We can never manage time. We have to be able to manage ourselves more. So Mitch, what's my word of the year? Remember?
Was it discipline?
Yep, correct. So my word of the year is discipline. So that goes back to I've got to be more disciplined. I got to be more self-managed, and with my time, with what I'm saying no to, with what I'm saying yes to know what my top 3 jobs are, things like that. So on the next one here. So the most important skill of the 21st century, okay? Learn to control your attention, prevent distractions, and keep our focus. I think I might have ADD. I think probably 90% of the people on this call probably have some sort of ADD, and we're not medicated for it. And possibly we should be. I'm not a big medication kind of guy, but I think we can do it on our own. We've got to be able to control our attention more. So I'm going to have you guys all take a test. Hopefully you can see my screen here. Mitch, you're familiar with this. We took this test together, and there was actually about 50 of these things that we did. But so let's go back. You guys can all see my screen here. This is called a digital addiction assessment. And again, I'm going to give kudos to Insane Productivity Coaching Program that Mitch and I are going through. Darren Hardy, I got this from there. These are 14 questions. I'm going to ask you guys to look through these questions really quick. I love phones on Ring Central. 14 questions. I want you guys to write down on a piece of paper, out of these 14 questions, how many that you could say yes to. So do you sometimes bring your cell phone with you to the bathroom? Check. In waiting in line for more than 2 minutes when you go to Starbucks or something like that, do you check your cell phone? Check. If waiting at a stoplight, do you pull out your cell phone? Check. Do you text your spouse or kids while they're in the same house? I did this the other evening. My son was upstairs. I texted him to see if he wanted to play Yahtzee. I couldn't have walked up the stairs to ask him if he wanted to play Yahtzee. Check. Are you disappointed when no one comments on your Facebook post? I think most of us can probably say yes on that one. Do you text or email while driving? Okay. Do you email or text while watching TV or a movie? My wife is notorious for this. I'm like, do you want to watch this movie or not? Okay. When you're out to eat, do you put your cell phone on the table? I would say that's an irritation for me if I didn't do it, but unfortunately, it irritates me when my kids do it. But when I do it, apparently I'm exempt from that rule. You check your cell while walking to your car. My car, I can actually see my car out my window. It's probably 15 feet from my office here. I'll probably check my cell phone on my way out to the car. When in a meeting, do you check your cell phone? Now this one does irritate me when I'm meeting with a real estate agent. Mitch, you talked about this before. Meeting with a realtor, having a great conversation, and they're checking their cell phone.
Oh, I hate it.
I bet they pick up their cell phone, right?
It's the worst.
I got to talk to this client. Okay, I know that's probably a realtor I'm never going to work with. So, okay, here's a good one. While you're on a coaching call or a webinar, are you checking your email or text messages? Are you doing that right now? Okay. Are you on your personal Facebook page while at work? I try not to get on my Facebook page while I'm at work. So that's a no for me. Do you freak out if you can't find your cell phone? So how many times are you trying to reach into your back pocket and you've panicked because your cell phone's not there? I think we all do that. When making vacation plans, is the Wi-Fi the first thing that you look at when you're looking at VRBO or vacations, rentals, or something like that? So I would say out of those 14 questions right there, I'm a 13. How about you, Mitch?
Well, first off, I'm laughing hysterically over here at the chat box right now. So James put, 14 out of 14, with a little word of choice there, which was funny. Jason Lovell, I got 15. How is that possible? And Eric may or may not be in his restroom right now commenting on everything. So.
Oh my gosh.
But a lot of 11s, 12s, 10s. I'm up there too at 11. I'm horrible when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So when we went through this insane productivity that week, the assignment was pick 3 of these, right? Pick 3 of these, and just for a 1 week time, try not to focus on not doing those 3 things. So of the 14, I would encourage you guys just to pick 3 of those. And this coming week, the rest of this week and next week, try not to do them. Now that when you're in meetings, things like that, obviously we're not doing meetings now, but when you're on coaching calls or webinars or huddles, try to close your computer as an example of one. That could be one right there. Mm-hmm. None of us are making vacation plans right now, unfortunately, so that could be an easy one, but pick 3 of the hardest ones on there and just focus on those. It takes 21 days, they say, to create a habit. So this is going to take some time. I started this program. I came off of it a little bit. I'm back in the habit of doing some of these things again. So I'd be encouraged to see what kind of results that we get here in about a week or 2 weeks. Anything else, Mitch, in the chat box that you saw was funny or that we could comment on?
Jason told Eric that's a really, really crappy of him to say.
Oh my gosh.
But no, the bathroom part is, a lot of people are, Margaret's saying the bathroom part's embarrassing. But it's true. How many of us take our phones to the bathroom, which I guess is another reason to never touch somebody else's phone, right? So. Yeah.
When that would stop, Mitch? It would stop when the first time that you drop your phone in the toilet.
Yeah, it would.
I don't think it would ever happen again. All right, let's go on to the next slide here. All right, so here are 5 ways to avoid distractions in a workday. So just I can send you the slides of this, guys. John can send this to you. John, I added this a little bit later after I sent you the original one, so you may have to request this back. But here are 5 things to avoid distractions during the workday. Break your large tasks down. Robin Berg talked about this morning on the morning huddle. Make a list with a allotted time for each. So I love doing this on Saturdays. One of my favorite days in the week is coming in on a Saturday, and my desk is a complete mess. Spending 15, 20 minutes and making a list of 5, 10, 15 items. And then next to that, each line item, I put a time allotment. So lock the Smith loan in 10 minutes, okay? Send an email to past clients, a half hour, 30 minutes. Whatever the list is, I love putting a list together. There's nothing better in this world than achieving a list. So I may not get all 10, 15 of them done that day, but I know, Mitch, you do this. Do you do this on Sunday evenings, put a list together for the week, or what do you do?
Yeah. But what I do is I pick the top 3 things out of the list, Tim, that are the highest priority things to get done first. Because what we tend to do is when we make a list, we get we get a lot of satisfaction out of checking off certain items, right? So we tend to just go for the easier things right off the bat, rather than going for the more difficult things, the more uncomfortable things that take a little bit more time and effort for us to get done. So I always try to go after the top 3 priorities first. Prospecting, of course, being number 1, right? So that way we can stick to our theme days.
Love it. What's that book called? Eat the Frog? You ever read that book? Get those hard tasks, get those out of the way. Everything after that's going to be a piece of cake, right? So I'll block online distractions. Obviously, when we're meeting with clients or supposed to be prospecting for new business, calling real estate agents, past clients, are we also checking our emails? Are we also have our Facebook page up? How many on your computer right now, Mitch? How many pages, internet pages do you have up?
1. I'm actually doing really good right now. So
good for you. I probably have 5 or 6. So I've got my lead tracker. I've got Flowify up. I shouldn't have Flowify up because that's all the paperwork part of my process, So I've got about 5 or 6. So how many pages do you have up? Are you checking your text messages, things like that? So how do we block online distractions when we're making our power hours? We shut our computer off, and we just don't either pick up the phone or we give our phone to somebody else on our team, right? A lot of us have to be using our cell phones to make our power hour phone calls and things like that. So we really can't give our phone to somebody else. But I think it's pretty easy to shut our computer down. Then your email doesn't pop up every 10 seconds. Does everybody know on this call, that how to block emails from coming in? You just close Outlook. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
I had IT. I was also getting these little blackout boxes on the bottom of my computer that were coming up. Even though my Outlook was closed, I was still getting boxes that were coming up that were reminders and things like that. I had IT completely take that off my computer. So, Mitch, what was that class that we went through? One of the weeks that we went through where it talked about getting rid of all of our cell phone distractions and computer distractions. You remember that week that we went through that?
Yeah.
You remember anything that hit home with you?
It's like there are times, and I know for some people, this is not for everybody, but where Facebook and Instagram and all these other, social media things, especially nowadays when we're a little bit more bored out of our mind, especially after hours, where we're just constantly on Facebook scrolling. And the one thing they said to do is if you truly have an issue with it, you can't stay off of it, and it's causing a distraction, delete it completely off your phone. And then block time throughout the day to actually get on your computer and get on Facebook and do things that are actually working towards your business and not just scrolling.
Yep. I remember I took my phone and I turned off all the notifications on my phone. This, I don't ever watch the news. I hear a lot of my students talk about they get up in the morning and watch the news. And I think you've talked about this before with your morning rituals. That's like the worst thing right now. That's probably, in my mind, the worst thing that I could ever do is to put all that negativity in my mind before I want to go out and make some power hour phone calls. So I don't turn the TV on in the morning. I come to the office. I do my journaling, my Bible verses, my Bible app that I have with a couple people here at the company. So I always try to start my day positively, with positive mindset, just like you do. So here's the next question. Is your team productive and disciplined and diligent? So we're focusing on ourselves with all these distractions. What do you think what kind of distractions does our team have? Do they have the exact same distractions that we have? I would imagine everybody working from home right now, they probably have more distractions there than they would be if they were here in my office, when I can walk around the office and look at their computers and their cell phones and things like that. So I think we need to ask our team these exact same questions. What kind of distractions do you have? What do you think, Mitch? Do you think our team, is it easier for them to block out time in their calendar or harder than us?
I would think it would be a little more difficult just because of the tasks that they're performing. I don't know. I've never really had a conversation about time blocking with my team, honestly.
I think it's definitely harder. I sort of knew the answer when I asked you that, but I think it's harder because they have their business comes to them, right? A new lead comes in, they have to take it up. They have to take it right away. for us, our focus is prospecting for new business in our power hours. And we can turn everything else over to our team during those times. We don't have to pick up the phone. They necessarily can't have that same flexibility that we do. So I think this might be even harder for them. But still, I think we have to have the conversation with our team. What's holding them back from being disciplined and being productive in their jobs? So we have to set boundaries with our colleagues. So my boundary is the door. I close my door. Some of you have heard this before. I used to have 2 signs on my door. The first sign was great phone calls in progress, do not disturb. Okay, that lets them know what I'm doing, that I'm doing my job as a loan officer and a team leader. The next sign that I had on my door was, if you do disturb me, I cannot guarantee your job. So they sort of they knew the point was, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing behind these closed doors, then I can't afford to have a team or have a branch, God forbid. So we have to set boundaries with our colleagues. The easiest way for me to do that is, number 1, close my door. Number 2, we're having our daily morning meetings for a half hour, so they know exactly what I'm doing today, so they don't have to come in and bug me during different times of the day. And then number 3, just making sure that we're all on task and bringing to our team meeting what I did the day before to reiterate to them that I did what I was supposed to do yesterday. So we have to set boundaries with our colleagues, whether they're loan officers in your branches or your team. They can set boundaries for you. So how many times do I go and bug my team throughout the day? And I think that's okay, Mitch. Are there times that you, in a normal work environment, where you bug your team throughout the day and they may be in the middle of something, but you think that's okay?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I see some things coming in the chat.
So Eric has a really good question. Any suggestions for folks that don't have a team and they're operating under a team of 1 to stay diligent to their discipline? Other than hire their first team member, how can they stay diligent to their discipline when they're just operating under themselves?
Yeah, so I mean, Caitlin, and I'll let you chime in too, but Caitlin made a point on our coaching retreat that if you don't have a team right now, that's fine, but as long as you realize that you're the loan officer number 1 and you're the LP number 2, okay? And you have to think of yourself in that mindset that, all right, in the morning from, let's say, 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock, I'm going to be the loan officer right now. From 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock, I'm going to be the LP. From 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, I'm going to be the loan officer again. And then from 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock, I'm going to be the LP again. So you have to be able to, whether it's in your calendar or just having the mindset that you have to do both of those functions right now, you have to be able to separate them. Otherwise, you're going to be reactive in your business. You're not going to be proactive. What do you think, Mitch?
I agree, 100%. 100%. If you're working on your own too, you know, there's different tasks that you do have to get to, but again, you gotta prioritize, right? Like, what is the top priority? And like you said, you're still a loan officer number 1, and if you're not prospecting, there's no business that is coming in that you would even have to worry about time blocking for, right? So you always gotta prospect first.
And guaranteed, if you're not prospecting first, you're not going to get to the point to where you can even hire a team. You're 1 or 2 or 3 people on your team.
Yep.
So it all starts with that. That was me for 15 years. I did this by myself for 15 years because I didn't realize that I was a prospector and then a loan LP1 or LP2 second. So any other good questions coming in over there?
No, that's it. I would add to Tim, like especially for those who are working on their own and they're not quite to the point where they have that first, you know, LP1 or LP2 working with them. I remember when I first got in the business, I started to grow, and I remember how much it sucked. You know, when you get super busy and you're trying to manage things, you don't have that person yet, but you literally just have to embrace the suck for a little bit, because it is hard. You're going to put in a lot of extra time, but the reason you're doing it is so that you can get the extra help and be able to focus more on sales activities.
Yep. I worked for, last 20 years, I've worked 50 hours a week. That's been my sweet spot is 50 hours a week. Saturday mornings get caught up in things like that. But you just got to grind. And then once you start doing 4 or 5 deals, again, it's based on your price points and things like that. But once you start doing consistently 4, 5, 6 deals a month, then if you have to hire that part-time assistant or share it with another loan officer, so be it. But then you've got to have those roles and responsibilities and the job descriptions all set up before you even do that. But yeah, you're right. It's gonna suck for a little bit, but the end result is you can build a team of 3, 4, 5 people and do 200, 250 transactions a year, as long as you're focusing on the prospecting number one.
Yep.
So, all right, awesome. The last distraction avoidance would be making time for breaks. So I've just started talking about this with my students here as of late. Is I'd get in the office early in the morning, I'd go home at 5 o'clock, and I'd think to myself, I walked to the bathroom twice. I walked and got coffee twice, but I didn't do anything else. But just do that, but work on my files and work on doing things. So I'm starting to take more breaks throughout the day. Walk around my office, walk over to Robex and get a smoothie for lunch, things like that. So I think we have to get up, walk around, maybe do a push-up, a sit-up, things like that. I can't go to the gym now, so it's frustrating to me. So now I'm going to start getting up a couple times a day and just doing push-ups and sit-ups right here in my office. So what kind of breaks do you take during the day, Mitch?
Not enough for the most part, but what I'm finding is working from home, I do take a little more breaks, because I'll go up upstairs and have lunch with my family. My daughter loves to go out on her scooter in the driveway, and I bought myself an adult scooter.
There you go.
So that I could go out there with her. So like we go out for 15 minutes during the afternoon. So it's helped me stay more focused. Like when I come back down to my office and get back into things, I feel a little bit more refreshed. So it does make a difference. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? 3 o'clock rolls around. I'm super tired. How productive am I going to be at 3 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
At the middle of the afternoon, when most people, that's their sweet spot. I can't do that because I'm not taking breaks. I'm not chilling out and just, I knew a loan officer that was in the Corps with me that would take like 5-minute naps under his desk. Jeremy Forcier would take 5-minute naps under his desk a couple times throughout the day. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to take a nap under my desk, but still I can go out and just do something different than just looking at files all day long. So got to take time for breaks throughout the day. All right, so here's I'm going to share with you some things that Mitch and I have been working through. We've got 3 types of brains. We've got your monkey brain, which is your emotional brain. It loves to be liked. It loves new shiny penny. That's all me right there. I love the new things. I come up with 20 different ideas a day, and I implement 0 of them because it's all new stuff that I just never get implemented. It's always looking for that new thing. It's fear of missing out. There's got to be something better out there. We know what we have to do in our business. We've got to make realtor phone calls, past client phone calls. We've got to see people, talk to people, and we're going to have a great business. So that's 5% of our brain. The sage brain, this is your conscious. This brain pushes you to do more and more and more. It's the high achievers mentality. Then you've got your robot brain that is your unconscious. You don't even know that it's there. Automatic functions, breathing, sleeping, brushing your teeth, those kinds of things. That's 95% of your brain. If you guys notice there, 5% is the monkey brain, 95 is your robot brain. How much, Mitch, is left for your sage brain?
Very little, none really.
0, yeah. So these aren't exact numbers. Obviously, it's just an example. But the only way that we're gonna have more of a sage brain mentality is we have to take it from something else, right? We have to take it from either the monkey brain or the unconscious. So I would probably prefer, I like the 5% is a good number for me for my monkey brain because I always like to look at new things and things like that. But I would take it from the robot brain right there. All right, so here's a couple things that, look at the last 2 slides. I just don't want to miss. All right, so let's go to this slide next. So I talked about this earlier. I'd go home at the end of the day, my wife would ask me, how was your day? Oh, I was crazy busy. I still say crazy busy way too much. Yep. So is that really a good thing or is that a laziness? So busy feels and looks great, okay, because you're super important. You're really busy. It's a false comfort. It's called active non-action. I know a loan officer that I'm not going to obviously name names, but is in the office super early, never see this person, and this person turns in two loans a month, okay? But that person's always busy, 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 busy. I'm not quite sure exactly what they do, but it's the active non-action, okay? Busy is lazy, okay? We talked a little bit about this earlier. I do the easy things, the lazy things, and that's what keeps me busy. I create a nice little flyer or work on a Zoom campaign. or a Facebook campaign because it's easy and it's my laziness away because I don't want to make phone calls. Busy is a weakness. Busy is also creative avoidance. We're avoiding the things that we don't want to do, which is pick up the phone and make those difficult phone calls. Busy is fear, and busy means you're out of control, like that guy right there. 12. So is multitasking really possible? Okay. Multitasking, I don't think it is. There's no way. You can't do two things at 100%, right? Number one killer of your productivity. The result is longer, less accurate, and more effort. If I'm trying to do two things at once and I can't put 100% effort into that one task, I know I'm going to screw things up. It's like me turning in a loan file and then trying to make prospecting phone calls at the same time. I can't turn in good loan files when I'm focusing 100% on it to begin with, let alone if I have other distractions as well. So what you're doing is switching. So on the very bottom here, you see this thing called clear the calculator. Mitch, do you remember what that was? Clear the calculator?
I know the box and shelf. Basically.
Yeah, go ahead and explain the box and shelf.
Yeah, so like taking one, you got a shelf that's full of different boxes, and it's taking one box off the shelf, opening the box, completing what you need to complete within that box, closing it, putting it back on the shelf, and then grabbing the next box, rather than grabbing 3 different boxes and opening them all at the same time, which is what a lot of us tend to do.
Yeah.
And cognitively, we can't multitask. You just can't do it. You can't pay attention to 2 different things. And it's just like this call right now, Tim. I wouldn't be able to tell you what you talked about if I was working on loan files as well.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just the importance of trying to stick to one task at a time. You'll get a lot more done, and it'll be more efficient.
Yep. So clear the calculator, exact same concept. Clear the calculator. When you use a calculator, you always have to hit the clear button before you start to the next task. Otherwise, you're going to get an error, right? So that's the same kind of concept there. They said they did a study, and they said if you multitask, it makes you actually dumber than when you're stoned. So I don't know what that stoned looks like. I've never been stoned, but I know Eric Cromer probably has a few times, but he can maybe chime in. But it actually makes you dumber when you're stoned than being stoned. So let's go back to the slide number 10 here, and then we'll finish up with any questions that anybody has. So we've got to create a system to avoid distractions. So that's the key right there. Is we can't. I think it's very, very difficult to self-discipline. But what we can do is we can create a system that automatically self-disciplines us. So that system would be, I've got an accountability partner, Kelly, that if I'm not making my 2 hours of phone calls, she's in my office kicking my butt to make those phone calls. That's a system. That's a system of me avoiding distractions. Another avoiding distraction system would be closing my door. Another, creating a system to avoid distractions would be doing my daily team meetings that we all need to be doing, whether we have a team or not. We need to be doing those so people don't distract us while we're making our phone calls. So we always have to have that system to create a discipline and a distraction behind it. We can also create a tool that'll help change our behaviors. Now, we can't change our behaviors overnight. That's going to take time. So if it's getting up earlier in the morning, half hour earlier in the morning, and creating that tool, it's creating blue time in our calendars. We're focusing on this in coaching right now. Is in our calendars, we should have an hour that we're just working on our business. Yellow sheet of paper, 1 hour a week, Saturday morning, Thursday evening, whatever it is, just journaling, writing down everything about your business and creating that tool, that system, just to start thinking about these kinds of things. Mitch, you talked about this earlier, creating your list of top 3 tasks and then just doing those, crossing those 3 off, and then looking at the next top 3 and doing those. So, are we using technology enough, or are we using it too much? So these are just thought-provoking questions that I was coming up with. Here's the biggest thing for me is, do I delegate everything? Do I delegate number 1, and then do I delegate everything? I think, Mitch, you and I, anybody on this call really, we can delegate everything about our business, can't we? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think Bill Cosgrove takes loan applications? Do you think he recruits? Do you think he works on problem files, a short appraisal? Do you think he does any of that anymore?
None of it.
he delegated all that, right? Now all he does is run his company. So I've got the mindset that this is my company. I want to get out of making prospecting phone calls. How do I do that? I delegate that. How do I delegate that? I hire junior loan officers, or I hire other loan officers for my branch, things like that. I'm not to that point yet, but I think everything that we do in our business can be delegated to some extent, okay? For the loan officers who don't have a team or only have one person on their team, they can't delegate everything, obviously, but I think most of our business can be delegated. Can we really manage our time? We talked about that, self-management. Do we watch the news or listen to sports radio? So that was one of the things that I don't listen to sports radio anymore, obviously because there's no sports on right now. But 3 months ago, I stopped listening to sports radio here in Cleveland because it just got me negative about everything. So that was one of the weeks that we worked on with the insane productivity, was getting rid of all those kinds of distractions. So here's a question for everybody: is busy a good thing? Obviously, we've learned from this, what we talked about here today, that busy is not a good thing. It feels good, but it's a weakness and it's a laziness. And then we talked about, is multitasking really possible? So in my mind, multitasking is not possible. I think women are better at multitasking than men are. That's at least what my wife tells me. But I still think you can't focus 100% of your efforts on two things at the same time. So Mitch, that's all I had. Are there any questions in the chat box that you see, or any comments that we could, answer for people?
Yeah, there is one. When is a good goal to have the monthly? What is a good goal to have your monthly production at to have an LOA?
So I had mentioned that earlier. I would say consistent 4 to 5 loans a month. And because I remember 1 month years ago, Mitch, I took 51 loan applications. That was my high mark in my career. 51 loan applications. I had one assistant. Back then, it was much, much easier than it is now. I think right now, with the complexity of our files and how much paperwork is required right now, mandated by us, I think 4 or 5 loans a month, you can do that on your own. Anything on top of that, you're going to see your business like a roller coaster without an assistant. So what do you think that benchmark is?
For me, I would say, I was going to say 6 loans a month on average to hire somebody. And you could easily, with time blocking, you should be able to easily maintain 6 loans a month. But as you start to grow and get up a little bit above that, you would definitely want to start talking to, a sales manager about the possibilities of bringing on an LOA.
Yep. When you bring on an LOA, it's got to be, you have to focus on the right activities. So you have to have the mindset, as I'm hiring somebody to work 40 hours a week, that's actually adding 40 hours to my work week, right? So if I'm prospecting now 5 hours a week, I need to prospect for 15 hours a week in order to be able to, number one, pay for that new assistant, because that's the only way you're going to do it, right? You have to do the right activities. I've seen loan officers hire an assistant and then they go golf. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you, Mitch. I'm talking about somebody else. But I've seen that happen before, and it killed their business, right?
Yeah.
So that's the key right there, is having the mindset of, I've got to go out and prospect now to be able to pay for this new assistant. And then the second part of it is the leadership part of it, of having that job description so they know exactly what to do. And I would encourage you, whoever asked that question, when you get ready to hire that first assistant, like you said, talk to your sales manager, talk to your regional, talk to one of us coaches about how our teams are set up. I love sharing my team with other teams. I love when people come to my office and spend the day with me learning what my team does. I love doing that with Brian's team. So any of us coaches are more than happy to share with you how our teams are set up, what our teams do. The new LOA program is awesome that Susan is running. So those are all going to be benefits for all of us, long term. But that's a good question. Any other questions in the chat box?
No, nothing else in there. I wanted to bring up one other thing, Tim, that I'm sure you remember this, that Darren Hardy brought up. Everyone in this call, most everyone is a commission employee, right? So we can really look at distractions as costing us a ton of money when you think about it. If you're distracted for 15 minutes and you miss out on calling a real estate agent that could turn into a top referral partner, you're potentially losing a lot of money. And what a cool exercise that Tim and I did is we calculated our hourly pay, right? So I'm just going to throw a number out there, right? So if you are paid $100 an hour based off of the commissions you've made over the last year or over the last 12 months, and you're distracted for 1 hour out of the day, that's $100 that you're literally just taking out of your pocket, you're throwing it on the ground, and you're walking away from it. And if we can learn to stay focused and really get rid of all the distractions, we have the potential to increase our income, to build more relationships. When we're distracted, it's keeping us from building additional relationships. It's keeping us from prospecting. It's keeping us from, getting to that 6 loans that we're trying to get to a month so that we can hire somebody. So really try to think of it that way, as you're a commission employee. So when you are distracted, you are throwing your money in the trash. And if one day is costing you $100, imagine what a month is costing you. And then imagine what a year is costing you because of distractions. So really work towards getting a grip on the things that are distracting you. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, like we talked a lot about the to-do list, I would also recommend a not to-do list. Things that, like waking up in the morning, something not to do would be don't check your phone right away.
Mm-hmm.
Don't turn on the news. So create a not to-do list with just 3 things, nothing more than that, so that it can make it easier for you to stop doing some things that are distracting you.
Yeah, I mean, this is my year. I told my wife this the other day. This is my year of saying no more than yes. High achievers just say no a whole bunch more than we do, right? So title companies call me, insurance agents call me. They all want our business, right? Nope. I got enough relationships. I got enough friends. I don't need any more. So you're right. We got to say no more. I'm going to share with you my screen, Mitch. And this goes back to what you're just talking about. What is the value per hour of me? Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
My value is $250 per hour. Am I being of value right now? I've actually got that on my screensaver as a reminder of, am I doing the right activities right now? I'm not prospecting right now. Am I worth $250 an hour? So
your coaching is worth that much, Tim, just so you know.
Thank you. I think it's worth more. Hey, I appreciate everybody being on the call. Obviously, Mitch and I are always open to any questions that you guys have. This will be recorded in the library as well, but hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I want you to go out and think about some of these things. Get rid of 3 of those things that you're doing now that are holding you back from being disciplined and holding you back from doing what you're supposed to be doing. Again, we all know what we need to do. Now let's just do it. Hope you guys have a great day. See ya. Thanks, Mitch.
Yep.